Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. The tension is building. Are you ready? It's time for the final countdown. Let's count down together. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I don't want to talk about how much you love your children, because I already believe you do. I don't want to talk about whether you're trying your best, because most parents genuinely are. Tonight, I want to talk about something much more uncomfortable. Not what we're intentionally teaching our children, but what they're learning anyway. Because children, whether we like it or not, they're always watching. They're watching us when we think they aren't paying attention. They're watching how we speak to our partners. They're watching how we respond when someone disappoints us. They're watching how we react when work becomes stressful. They're watching how we treat the cashier when the service is slow. They're watching how we talk about other people after we've hung up the phone. They're watching what happens when life doesn't go our way. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The greatest lessons children learn are often the ones we never planned to teach. Because children don't only listen to our advice. They don't. They study our behavior. Welcome to Leadership Unscripted. So tonight's conversation, the topic for tonight, your children are watching how you handle pressure, not just how you love them. So let's begin with a question. I want you to think back to your own childhood. What's one lesson you learned from your parents that they never actually taught you in words? What is one lesson you've learned from your parents that they never actually taught you in words? I'll start. My parents, they were hardworking. My grandparents were hardworking. My mom was hardworking. My grandfather was hardworking. My aunt and uncles, they were very hardworking. And that's something I learned from. They didn't teach me to be hardworking, but I saw how hardworking they were. What is one thing you learned from your parents that they didn't tell you in words, but you learned it? So royalty says kind. So you grew up with parents who were kind. So automatically you know kindness is something. So you become kind in the process. Anybody else? So royalty said kind. I said hard work. What's one thing? Anybody else in the chat? What's one thing you learned from your parents that they never actually taught you with words? Good evening, Marie. Welcome again to Leadership Unscripted. What is one thing that you learned from your parents that they never actually taught you in words, but you saw them do it? To be generous. So remember, what we do as adults, fairness, as the man said, generous, fairness. Remember that what we do, she said to be genuine. And those are some good traits. Our parents didn't have to tell us, didn't have to teach us to be fair, didn't have to teach us to be genuine, didn't have to tell us in words to be fair. But we see them do it. We saw them do it. So we just naturally start doing it. It is the same way with our children. What about forgiveness? Or perhaps anger. Marie says humility. What about anger? Or fear? Or keeping emotions bottled up? Mandy says resilience. So, what? Caring. So I say I'm seeing a lot of things coming up. Good morning, good evening, Tisha. How are you? So I'm seeing a lot of things coming up. So and that's why I said sometimes as adults, children, they're learning from us whether we like it or not. They learn more from what we do than what we see. If you go to when you go to the supermarket, if you argue with the cashier, if you're unkind to the cashier, you better know that your children, they're learning that behavior. They're learning that behavior and they will do the same thing. She started always to treat them as I would want them to treat me. And I've learned this more from exactly. So if we teach them kindness, if we show kindness, that's what they'll do. If we do otherwise, that's exactly what they'll do. Mandy, please block that notification thing for me, please. Let me block this notification thing. This is actually a spam. 1 second. Confirm. All right. All right. Thank you very much. So, I hope you noticed something that good night, Shorty, many of those lessons were never taught during a lecture. Our parents would actually sit down and tell us you need to be kind, you need to be generous. No, they didn't. Most times they didn't. Because children are incredible observers. Long before they become good listeners. Children observe, they watch what you do. You ever sit at home sometimes and you see your children mimic everything you do? Or when they come home from school, they can dramatize everything the teacher did at school today. They can show you, dramatize everything that happened at school today. Yes, they're watching. They are watching. So can I suggest something tonight? Children don't separate our public life from our private life. Know that. Children, they don't separate your public life from your private life. They don't know how to. They are constantly collecting evidence about what adulthood looks like. When they see us under pressure, they're asking questions like, is this how adults solve problems? Is this how adults handle disappointments? Is this how adults speak when they're frustrated? Is this how adults treat people who disagree with them? They may never answer those questions to you or ask it out loud, but they're answering them every single day. And one day, without realizing it, they'll begin responding the way they saw us respond. Not because they're trying to copy us, but because that's the example they've lived with. So if your response to everything is to argue and curse out people, best believe your child is watching, and that's exactly the way your child will respond. That's exactly the way your child will respond. If you don't problem solve, if you don't know how to solve conflicts in your home, and your children, they're watching, that's exactly the teaching they'll grow up with, and they will be solving their problems the same way. So I want you to think about your own life tonight. How do you handle disappointment? Where did you learn that? How do you respond when someone criticizes you? Where did that response come from? Mandy, please block Brian, please. Mandy, you need to watch the live. Mandy, you need to watch the comments, Mandy, please. So what emotional habits are my children inheriting from me? ask that question. What emotional habits are my children inheriting from me? That's a difficult question. But it's one every parent should ask. So I'm going to share a scenario with you tonight. A father has had an incredibly difficult day at work. Meetings, deadlines, unexpected problems. He walked through the front door. His 8-year-old daughter runs towards him. Daddy, Daddy, guess what happened today? Without looking up from his phone, he says, not now. She quietly walks away. The next day, the same thing happened. Then again and again. My question, did he stop loving his daughter? That's my question to you. Did he stop loving his daughter? No. Did his daughter stop feeling important? Maybe. But guess what? Children don't measure love only by our intentions. They experience love through our availability. And sometimes the greatest pressure we carry isn't the pressure we feel at work, It's the pressure we accidentally bring home. So parents, when you go home and you don't have any time for your children, they can't share their day's experience with you. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? So as I said, the greatest pressure we carry, you can't carry the work home. Please don't carry the work home. When you get home, there should be time for your children, for you and your child to connect. Remember, you're teaching them behavior. You're teaching them behavior, and what you teach them now will be what they do when they're adults. So let's be honest. Every parent gets tired. That's the truth. Every parent gets frustrated. That's the truth. Every parent has difficult days. So this conversation isn't about perfection. No, it's about awareness. Because children don't expect perfect parents, but they do need emotionally safe parents. And what is emotionally safe parents? Parents who can say, I am sorry. Parents who can say, I overreacted just now. Parents who will say, I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. And do you know what children learn when they hear those words? They learn accountability. They learn humility. They learn that making a mistake isn't the end of the story. Repair matters just as much as the behavior. And the same thing for teachers and adults. Never be afraid to say sorry. Never be afraid to apologize. If you've spoken to them in a way that you shouldn't have, apologize now. Let them know that you overreact. We're human, and when children see that as adults, we take accountability for our actions. It is the same trait they grow up with. So here's something I've learned. Children are much more likely to remember how we behave under pressure than how we behave when everything was easy. So anyone can smile on a good day. Anyone can be patient when life is calm. But what happens when plans fall apart? When someone disappoints us? When we are running late? When finances become tight? When life becomes overwhelming? That's when our children quietly learn what adulthood looks like. Good night, Raheem. I saw your message, Raheem. I soon respond. So I'd like everyone to complete the sentence. When I was growing up, pressure in my home usually looked like, I know some of you would say silence. Some of you would say pressure in your home usually look like arguments. Some of us had praying parents, so when our parents came under pressure, they would pray. Some of them worked together. Pressure in our home looked like patience. Could look like blame too. Could look like laughter. Or everyone, when there's pressure in the home, everyone is stressed out. But what does pressure look like in your home today? What does it look like? Because whatever your children experience repeatedly begins to feel normal. So if when you're under pressure, you get miserable and everything upsets you, your children will start thinking that behavior is normal. If when you get frustrated, you curse out the entire world, children will start thinking that behavior is normal. If when things doesn't go your way, everybody in your home have to be running and hiding from you, you become a monster. Children start learning. Children learn those behavior and they think that is normal. Same thing at school, teachers. Teachers, you have to be careful how you treat children, how you speak to them, what you say to them, what you do in front of them, because they're like sponge. They're watching you, and if you do something over and over repeatedly, they think it is normal and it is accepted. So always remember, children, they're influenced by what adults repeatedly do. She stand alone and said, I've never seen my parents fold under pressure, and I don't do that in front of. Exactly. So you learn things from your parents. Without them, they don't even have to tell you, but you watch how they respond, you watch how they react. And the same thing with children today. We have to be careful how we behave in every situation in front of them, because that's how they're going to behave when they're placed in similar situations. So can I leave you with this thought? Children don't need to see parents who never struggle. They need to see parents who struggle. But what they need to see are parents who struggle without losing their values. So imagine the lesson your child learns when they hear you say, today was a really hard day, but tomorrow is another day. Or, I'm upset right now, so I'm not going to take a few minutes to calm down before we talk. That's emotional intelligence. That's resilience. That's leadership at home. So instead of saying, I'm upset right now, I'm not going to calm down, you admit that today was a rough day and give hope, but tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow is another day to try again. Those are things children learn. So here's our quote for the night. Children don't simply inherit or high color or smile. They often inherit the emotional habits they watch us practice every day. What did I say? Children inherit the emotional habits, the things they watch us practice and do every day. If you easily get upset with the world, if you're in the home fighting, those are the behavior your children will watch and think it is normal. If you're always aggressive with them, if other adults in the home, they're always aggressive to each other, that's why when they come to school, they're so aggressive toward others, toward other people's children, because they're seeing it at home and they start to think it is normal and it is accepted. So parents, adults, teachers, remember, children watch what we do. They watch what you do every day. And if you keep doing this, repeat it, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, they start thinking it's normal. So when you see a child at school and they have a disagreement with another child and they box down the next child, where do you think that's coming from? Right in the home. When you see children getting upset at every little thing and will tell you, I'm upset, where do you think that those behaviors are coming from? They learned behavior that's coming from the adults they see. And sometimes it's not only the home, it's right there at school too. It's right there from the teachers, from the principal, from other persons in the school. They watch what you do. And they think, and they watch what other children do as well. And if it's not corrected, they think that behavior is acceptable. So Marie says our actions speak louder than our instructions. Amen. 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 They watch what you do. So Riley says, so they think it's the norm. Exactly. They think it's the norm and they don't know better. They really don't know better. So children don't simply hear what we teach. They watch how we live. They study our reactions, our attitudes, our habits, or responses under pressure. And perhaps the most important thing we said was this: children are always learning, even when we think they're not. We're not teaching. Children are always learning, even when we think we're not teaching. So now I want to go a little deeper, because pressure doesn't only reveal who we are. It quietly shapes who our children become. Not because pressure is bad, but because children are constantly asking one silent question. When life gets difficult, what does my family do? They may never ask it with words, but they're answering it every single day. So to everyone who's watching tonight, when you were growing up, the adults in your life usually under pressure by how do they usually under pressure? Did they stay calm? Pray? Did they shout at each other? Did they work harder? Did they blame others? How did they under pressure? We watch how they handle pressure, and usually that's the same way we under pressure nowadays when we're adults. So one of the greatest myths in parenting is this: people believe children learn character only when we deliberately teach it. But I don't believe that. Children often learn character by watching how we live. Imagine a child hearing their parents say, "Always be honest." Then watching the same parent tell someone on the phone, "Tell them I'm not home." The child doesn't think, "My parent is an hypocrite." The child simply learns sometimes honesty is optional, and that's why modeling matters. Because behavior always speaks louder than advice. You can't be telling your child to always be honest. You cannot be doing that. And then they overheard you on the phone telling somebody, or tell them I'm not home, or hear you on the phone lying. And Marie says consistency is important. Yes. And they watch everything. And also too, you can't put rules in place in the home and they break the rules and they beg you, say you don't but apply the consequences. No, you can't do that. If they do something and the established consequence was you're going to ground them for 2 days, or you're going to take away things from them for some time, and then they do something and you apply it one time and then you don't do it again. No, they will never learn anything. You have to be consistent. So you have to practice what you preach. So if you preach honesty, you have to practice it. If you preach loyalty, practice it. If you preach being a hard worker, practice it. So here's another one. Imagine a mother preparing dinner. It's been a difficult day. She's tired. She's behind schedule. A glass accidentally falls from the kitchen counter. It shatters across the floor. Her 6-year-old daughter freezes. Now imagine 2 different responses. In the first home, the mother immediately shouts, "Throw the towel onto the counter." The mother immediately shouts, throws the towel on the counter, starts blaming everyone. The child quietly backs away. In the second home, the mother takes a deep breath. She pauses, then says, "Well, that wasn't the plan. Let's clean it up together." Which home taught resilience? Is it the one where the mother threw the towel on the counter and began shouting? Or Is it the one where the mother's response was more calmer? Answer, well, let's clean it up together. Exactly, she said, right, you're teaching resilience. So notice something. Neither family avoided the problem. Both had the same accident. The difference wasn't the pressure. The difference was the response. Children don't just learn from what happens. They learn from how the adults around them respond when something happens. And let's be honest, every parent loses patience sometimes. We all do. Every parent, every adult will lose their patience. They will lose their calm sometimes. Every parent has moments they wish they could do over. And this isn't about pretending to be perfect. There's no perfect adult. It's about remembering something incredibly important. Children don't need perfect role models. They need authentic role models. And do you know one of the most powerful parenting moments? Is not when you never lose your temper, but when your children hear you say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have spoken like that. What does that teach? It teaches accountability. It teaches humility. It teaches repair, and it teaches grace. And those lessons are just as important as self-control. Because one day, your child will also make mistakes, and they'll remember how you handled yours. As she standalone says, I have 5 children, and Jace is the only one that I have to have extra patience with. Exactly. And because of your patience, I'm sure when he grows up, if that patience is required, he will know exactly how to apply it and how to be patient. The other word just here, Prophet Jace. I understand. I understand. I totally understand. I totally understand. So can I suggest something tonight? Children are learning emotional regulation long before they understand the phrase. They are learning emotional regulation long before they understand what that means. They're watching. They're watching when something goes wrong. Do we panic? Do we blame others? Do we complain? Or do we pause? I think about what happens when children fall off a bicycle. They immediately look at the adult. Why do you think they look at the adult when they fall off a bicycle? Because before they decide how serious the situation is, they often look to us for emotional direction. If we panic, they panic. If we stay calm, they are more likely to settle. Because leadership at home works the same way. Parents become emotional thermostats, not emotional thermometers. The thermometer reflects the temperature. A thermostat influences it. Ask yourself, which one am I becoming? Are you becoming a thermostat or a thermometer? Think about that. So imagine a father loses his job unexpectedly. His children know something is wrong. Money becomes tighter. Plans change. Vacations are cancelled. The children are watching every conversation. Now imagine 2 different fathers. The first father spends every evening saying, everything is ruined. I don't know what we're going to do. This is hopeless. The second dad, however, says, this is difficult. We're all disappointed, but we'll get through this together. Which father is telling the truth? The answer is both. They're both telling the truth. But one is also modeling hope. Resilience isn't pretending life isn't hard. Resilience is showing children that difficult seasons don't have the final word. So it's how we respond when we come under pressure in front of children. The behavior you exhibit, they learn from those behaviors. If you buckle under pressure easily, if you give up easily, you're teaching them. You're teaching them those behaviors. If you're somebody who is resilient, if you're somebody who never gives up, if you're somebody who pushes through, if you're somebody who work at things and you never give up, your children are going to go up with the same attitude. But if you're somebody who is entitled, who feel entitled to everything, and you don't want to work for most things. What do you think? That same entitled mentality. That's what they'll grow up with. They'll grow up to become entitled adults as well. So one of the reasons, so I want to show you, so I'd like everyone to answer this question honestly rather. So what's one emotional habit you hope your children inherit from you? What is one emotional habit you hope your children inherit from you? Let me hear from you guys in the chat. What is one thing, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, whatever, what is one emotional habit you hope your children learn from you? I'm saying patience. I hope children learn patience from me. What about you? What about faith? What's one thing you hope children learn from you? So I started with patience. Let me hear from you. I want to hear from everybody tonight. What is one emotional habit you hope children learn from you? I started with patience, faith, kindness, perseverance, forgiveness, optimism, calmness, generosity. Those are emotional habits. Those are emotional habits children should be learning from adults. To be kind-hearted and to have patience, and also not to judge people. So I'll say fearless. Those are good emotional habits children should learn from adults. Not to give up when they come under pressure. Not to be easily tipped off. Not to be unkind. Not to be bully. So it is very, very important. It is very, very important what children learn from us. So here's something I hope every parent remembers. Your children don't need a home where pressure never exists. That's impossible. They need a home where pressure doesn't destroy the values you say matter most. A home where love remains, respect remains, hope remains, kindness remains, because that's the environment where resilience grows. And so Rod says consciousness, exactly. So children rarely become emotionally healthy because life was easy. They become emotionally healthy because they watched trusted adults navigate hard seasons with courage, honesty, and hope. Because resilience is more often caught than taught. Comes back to what I said earlier. Children watch what you do, and they do every single thing you do. They watch what you do, and they do every single thing you do. So we've been talking about something that may be one of the greatest responsibility any parent will ever carry. Not providing a house, not buying toys, not paying school fees, not even saying I love you. Those things matter, of course. But tonight we've been talking about something even deeper. The example we leave behind for children. Because long after children forget many of the words we spoke, they often remember the person we were. They remember how we handle disappointment. They remember how we treat people. They remember whether home felt safe during difficult seasons. They remember whether pressure brought anger or it brought wisdom, fear or faith, panic or perseverance. And that's why parenting isn't simply about raising children. It's about becoming the kind of adult we hope they one day become. What did I say? Parenting isn't simply about raising children. No, never was, never will be. It's about becoming the kind of adult you hope your child will become one day. And that's the behavior you should model. That's the behavior you should model. So if you're a parent on the live, I want us to sit in the family chair tonight. So imagine this. It's 6:30 in the evening. A father just arrived home. Work has been overwhelming, emails all day, deadlines, meetings, unexpected problems. He's mentally exhausted. As you walk through the door, his 7-year-old son runs towards him and asks him to come outside to play football. Before he even looks at his son, he replies, "Not now. Can't you see I'm busy?" The little boy quietly walks away. The next evening, he asks again. The answer is the same. A week later, he doesn't ask anymore. What lesson did that child learn? Was it, my dad doesn't love me? Probably not. Children are often more generous than adults. Perhaps the lesson became, when adults are under pressure, I should stay out of their way. Or my excitement isn't as important as dad's work. So when that child grows up, what do you think? And get his own children, what do you think is going to happen? When dad is under pressure, children must stay out of that way. And adults are under pressure, children must stay in one corner. No matter what problem the child has. If adults are under pressure, they must stay out of the adult way. And those are not what we want children to experience. Those are not the kind of norms we want them to grow up with. No. So can I tell you something I've learned from working with children for many years? Children are remarkably observant. They notice far more than adults realize. They notice your tone, your facial expressions, the tension in your voice, the atmosphere in the home. Even when we think we're hiding our stress, children often know something is different. So the question isn't whether they'll notice. The question is, what meaning will they attach to what they see? And let me give you a joke. Well, let me give you an experience. At a school I worked, we had a dress-up day where children were supposed to dress as teachers. And they had this teacher who sometimes she would wear a crop top. And some fang dangles earring and all those stuff come to school. And on that day, a child dressed to mimic that teacher. And when we asked the child, "Who are you just like?" and the child called the teacher's name, everyone broke down in laughter. Because guess what? The same way the teacher came to school in a crop top and inappropriate dress that time, the same way the child dressed. And the child didn't see anything wrong with it. That's how Miss Dress come to work. I want to be a teacher, I'm dressing like my teacher. So we have to be very, very careful. We have to be very, very careful of the behaviors we model. Because children, they watch. Children watch. And what we do or we carry ourselves, what we say, they're learning from that. And that's why emotionally healthy parent or adults doesn't mean pretending life isn't perfect. No. It means helping children see that difficult emotions can be managed without hurting the people we love. So how you deal with situations in the home? How you deal with disagreement with any adults? How you solve conflicts? Children learn from those things. So tonight I want to put every parent in front of the mirror. I want to leave every parent with 5 questions. Not to make you feel guilty, no, I don't want you to feel guilty. But to help you become more intentional as you raise your children. Here are my 5 questions. If my child handled disappointment exactly the way I handled it this week, would I be proud? That's the first. Ask yourself that question. Ask yourself that question. If my child handled disappointment exactly the same way I handled it this week, would I be proud? The next question you need to ask yourself as a parent. When my child thinks about home, what emotion comes to mind first? Peace, joy, safety, or constant tension and war? Ask yourself that question. The third question you should ask yourself as a parent: do my child see me apologizing when I'm wrong? Because children don't learn accountability from hearing lectures. They learn it by watching adults practice it. So when you're wrong, do your children see you apologize? Here's another question you need to ask yourself. The fourth question you need to ask yourself as a parent: am I teaching my children that people matter more than problems? So think about that. When pressure arrives, who gets my best, my work or my family? And the final question I want you to ask yourself: what emotional habits am I passing to the next generation without realizing it? Not the habits I hope they learn, the habits they actually see every day. Those questions aren't designed to produce guilt. They are designed to produce growth. So here's a parent challenge. Here's what I want to leave to challenge a parent tonight. Here's your challenge before we meet again. This week, when something goes wrong, I want you to pause. Pause before reacting. And ask yourself one question: if my child copied this exact response tomorrow, would I be happy with what they've learned? If the answer is no, take a breath and start again. Not because you're trying to become a perfect parent, but because you're becoming a more intentional one. Then do one more thing. Spend 15 minutes uninterrupted with your child. No phone, no television, no distractions. And just listen. Ask questions, laugh together. Because emotional connection isn't built during grand gestures. It isn't built by buying them big gifts, no. It's built through repeated moments of you being present. So as we come to the end of tonight's conversation, I want you to remember something. Your children won't remember every piece of advice you gave them. They won't remember every piece. They probably won't remember every rule or every lecture. But they will remember how home felt. They'll remember whether they felt safe, whether they felt heard, whether they watched adults disagree respectfully, whether they watch adults recover after mistakes, whether they watch adults choose hope when life became difficult, because those are the lessons they'll carry into their own marriages or life when they're adults, their own parenting, their own workplace, their own lives. And the greatest inheritance we leave our children isn't money. It isn't property. It isn't success. It's the emotional patterns they carry into the next generation. And that's why this conversation matters tonight. Because every calm response, every apology, every act of forgiveness, every moment of resilience is shaping someone who's quietly watching. What did I say? Every apology, every act of kindness, every moment of resilience is shaping someone, is shaping that child, because even when they're not saying anything, they're watching. They're watching how you respond and how you deal with situations. So I want to thank everyone for joining me tonight. If tonight's conversation encouraged you, don't aim to become a better parent. Don't aim to become a perfect parent. Aim to become a present parent. An intentional parent. A parent who understands that children are learning from every ordinary day. If this episode, if you like this episode, if you found it interesting, it will be uploaded to my YouTube channel, Dr. Ardale. By the end of the night, it will be uploaded there, so you can go and download it. And here's my final word before I leave you tonight. Children don't expect parents who never feel pressure. Remember that. Children don't expect parents who never feel pressure. They need parents who show them that pressure doesn't have to steal your kindness, your values, and your love. Children need parents who show them that when they come under pressure, it doesn't steal your kindness, it doesn't change your values, and it doesn't change you from being loving. Because one day, your children will face pressures you cannot protect them from. And in those moments, they won't only remember what you told them, they'll remember how you lived. They'll borrow your courage, your patience, your faith, and your resilience. Or they'll borrow your fear. And that's why the greatest gift we can give children isn't a life without pressure. It's an example of how to walk through pressure without losing the very values that makes us who we are. What did I say? The greatest gift adults can give to children isn't a life without pressure. It's an example of how to walk through pressure without losing the very values that makes us who we are. So until next time, keep leading at home, keep loving intentionally, keep modeling the character you hope to see in your children. And remember, the greatest lessons your children will ever learn may not come from your words. They will come from the person they watched you become when life was hardest. Children, the greatest lesson your child will learn from you is the person you become when you're at your lowest. Good night and stay blessed. Alright, so thank you everyone for joining tonight. Our topic for tomorrow night at 8:30. Our topic for tomorrow night at 8:30 will be, if my title disappeared tomorrow, would my influence remain? That's the title of our show for tomorrow night. If my title disappeared, would my influence remain? That will be the title of the show tomorrow. So thank you for tuning in tonight and looking forward for you to join me tomorrow night at 8:30 for another interesting conversation. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. You're tuned in to Leadership Unscripted.